Greetings apprentices, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Arlin, and today we're going to be going over all the books that I read in the month of May. Normally I don't read enough books in a month to do a wrap up for, so I'm super excited because this month I actually read 5 books. Let's talk about the books that I read. Okay, so the first book that I read was The Siren by Kiera Cass, and this was actually my first Kiera Cass book. I got this book from the library and I think I ended up rating it a 4.5? I think 4.5 or 4.25, but it was actually really solid and I was kind of shocked by that because I think it was her first book. There were definitely some elements that were non-existent, you could say. So it was a summer romance, but there was a huge emphasis on like the sisterly bond between the main characters, and I actually thought that was really nice and it was really fun getting to explore their relationships with each other. It's the perfect book to read in the summer if you're looking for a clean romance. I love the characters, and the main character especially was really relatable. When I first started the book and I read like the prologue or whatever, I was literally laughing, and I was in the living room reading the book and my siblings were playing Super Smash Bros or something, and I just started laughing and I was like, this is so cringy, like this is not good at all. And my brother looked at the cover and he was like, why are you even reading that book? But yeah, so it was cringy at the start for sure, and I was just like, what am I getting myself into? But then I actually ended up enjoying it. So like I said, if you're looking for a clean romance to read in the summer, I would recommend this one. I also found the relationship between like the sirens and the water to be really interesting. Is it wrong to say that like the water was a really good character? For those of you who haven't read it, the water in this book is alive and the sirens have like conversations with it, so that's all I'm gonna say, but it is a really interesting book and I just overall really enjoyed it. Okay, the next 2 books that I read were the graphic novels for Prodigy and Champion. For those of you who don't know, I'm sorry, I have to mention this like every single video, but the Legend trilogy is one of my favorite series of all time, so I got the graphic novels and this is the second and third one. I loved being transported back into the world. The only thing I didn't like about these novels were that they weren't super long. They definitely skipped over a lot of the stuff that were actually in the books, but I'm not going to deduct points for that because they're graphic novels, you can't include everything. And I ended up rating both of these 5 stars. I liked the style too, and yeah, so these were just both really good books and I ended up crying when I finished this book, just like I did with the real novel. If you know, you know, but let's not talk about that. If you've read the Legend trilogy and you loved it, then I would highly recommend getting these. They just transport you back in the world without you actually having to like reread the entire series and go through an emotional roller coaster again. It is an emotional roller coaster, but like it's a shorter one, so it's doable. The next book that I read is one of my new all-time favorite books. Most people read this book for school, but I did not somehow, so I ended up picking this book up years later than most people read it, and that is The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. A lot of people in the comments were saying they read this in 7th grade, so I guess I definitely missed that mark, but better late than never, and I'm so glad that I read this book. This book is written insanely well, especially because the author was so young when she wrote it. The characters are just so unique and special, and they each have their own defining characteristics, and I love the relationships between them. It's just so good. I felt it in my heart, and the ending wrapped it up so nicely. It ended with a purpose, and I feel like that's what novels are supposed to do. I mean, it depends on the type of novel obviously and what you're trying to get across, but with this type of novel, I'm so glad that it ended like that. It just completed the story. So this was a 6 star, and if by chance you didn't read it in school like I didn't, then you need to read this book right now because it's also super short and I was never bored throughout this novel. You know, like when you're reading a book and you forget you're reading? It doesn't happen to me often, but it happened to me with this book. I was just transported in a different world entirely and I enjoyed every second of it. So glad that I read this book, and if you haven't read it yet, then this is your sign. Okay guys, so we are on to the last book that I read this month, which is the one that I'm probably the most excited to talk about, not because I liked it, but just because I kind of have some opinions that I haven't shared yet on my Goodreads. Yesterday was Sunday, and I spent the entire day after church finishing this book because I was like halfway through and I just wanted it to be over because, to be honest with you, I wasn't enjoying it that much and it was kind of prohibiting me from reading other books. And that book is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. Now, the plot and the setting of this book I did really like. The writing was also pretty good. So there were a couple of things in here that I did not like, but aside from those elements, my main issue with this book is that I just didn't care about the characters. I really didn't. I think the main reason that I finished this and that it was even kind of good was because of the plot and the setting and not really who it was happening to. If somebody would have snatched this book away from me halfway through, I just genuinely would not have cared. I did like some elements of the characters. I kind of do like Iris. She just doesn't have the emotional depth that I think she should have. There was a line in here, it was near the end of the book, and you know when you have like an actual physical reaction when you're reading a book? So this line made me go like, ugh. And then I started laughing at myself because it was hilarious that I actually did that. I really feel like Roman isn't super relatable. He really doesn't feel any different than any other male character in YA books. I didn't get annoyed with the characters, I just didn't feel anything for them. So I think that's a problem. But yeah, so I ended up rating this book a 3.5 star because I did like the world, I liked the setting. The writing was good and there were like a lot of lines that made you really feel what the character was feeling, but it was the characters for me. The characters were just not deep enough. They were not deep enough. Like I said, they had the backstory, but it really didn't feel like it affected them like it should have. I felt like the author was telling us why we should empathize with these characters and not showing us. It was not my favorite, and there were some elements in it that I did not like. I've heard so many people say so many good things about this, and I looked at Goodreads and it has a lot of 5 stars, like a lot. But I just genuinely don't think that it was that good. It really feels like a book that I should really love, but I didn't. So yeah, there's that. So these are all the books that I read in the month of May. I'm so happy that I finally got to do a wrap up. I have a lot of videos planned for June that's gonna make me read more, so I'm probably gonna end up doing another wrap up next month, which is super exciting. Also, since I'm out of school now, I'm trying to post one full-length video every Friday once a week for the entire summer, and I have the month of June planned out. I have some of July planned out, so if you guys have any videos that you want me to film this summer, just comment down below because I'm currently writing my summer schedule. But other than that, thank you guys for watching this video. If you've read any of these books, let me know what your thoughts are on them in the comments down below. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will hopefully see you guys in my future videos. Bye!